Hello everybody, my name is Kiran and I'm doing PhD in Applied Physics from Institute of High Pressure Physics, Polish Academy of Sciences, so basically from Poland. Ali, I think, introduced me earlier, but I wanted to tell you more about what is my education basically. So I did my bachelor's from University of Gujarat in year 2015 with Ali. I was a senior, and then my major is basically, so my bachelor's is basically in physics, and then I moved to Ghulam Khan Institute for my master's. I did my master's in applied physics from Ghulam Khan Institute, and in year 2018. So the idea of doing PhD, when I was in master's, I had this idea, or um, like I have this idea in my mind from such a long time. I wanted to do PhD, but not from Pakistan. So I started applying for PhD when I was in my last semester of masters, and um, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like any random person who start emailing every professor, like without even thinking about it. But then a very good senior of mine, he told me that you don't have to do this, right? You have to search for the major field that you are looking for, like so this is the best tip that he gave me, and I wanted to pass it forward. In PhD, the most important thing is just ask yourself what you're looking for, because there are so many fields, there are so many things that you can look for. I did my master's in gallium nitride based light emitting diodes, so most of my work was revolving around gallium nitride based light emitting diodes. So I never wanted to change this field. This is the reason I was looking for the people who are working in this field. Um, you know, Doing PhD from Poland was never an idea, because I wanted to go for like Australia or like Germany. Usually when you think about abroad, you think about these countries, the popular ones. But speaking of physics and science and Poland, Poland is very good in science, speaking especially in physics. Poland and Germany. So I never thought about it. I will be very honest, but the first thing that I did was that I make a very good CV on Europass, and because I have good publications, like when I was in my masters, I had like 8 to 9 publications, major in the basically in the field of gallium nitride based light emitting diodes. So my CV already looks very attractive. So because I had so many publications, so I'm not demotivating you if you don't have publications. It does not matter. Your CV should look very nice. You should add more and more interesting facts about you. For example, what you can do, what experimental techniques or what simulation softwares you can operate. So these things are very important. So your CV should look very attractive, and also your cover letter, like your motivation letter, you should clearly state that what you want to do, and it should be quietly linked with the field or the project you're applying for. So I made, and you won't believe, I made, I think, 10 to 11 different motivation letters for different fields. Usually what people do, they make one motivation letter and they apply it to every other, at every post they apply with the same motivation letter. So my idea was to change the motivation letter according to the project details, and then it's smart work, so I applied that accordingly. Okay, so speaking of PhD in Poland, I came here in year 2018, and at that time, the criteria was totally different from the admission criteria. Not totally different, but it's different. So right now they introduced this new PhD school called Warsaw School of PhD, and this Warsaw School of PhD have their own criteria. I will talk about my how I got admission is not important, because that was a past school. Now they have this Warsaw School for PhD, a new school. So I will tell you more about this, how to apply here. So first of all, what they do is that they open these admissions like after 6 months, like similar to every other, similar to the criteria of every other country. They have the same criteria, so they open the admissions after 6 months. And what you have to do is that they open the projects. And how they do it, that they have their on their website, Warsaw School for PhD. And they have this. Warsaw is basically the capital of Poland, of course. I know many people know that, but just for the clarification. So Warsaw School for PhD. In Warsaw School for PhD, you can see multiple projects. In multiple projects, you can see the title of the project and the name of the supervisor who is offering that. So what you're gonna do is that they have the links at the end of the project. They have explained everything. So you have to upload like your reference letters. Um, One thing that I will suggest is to upload a reference letter specifically from your supervisor, your ex-supervisor. That's very important, because I have seen few people, they have uploaded some reference letters which were not from their supervisor. Like one of them was not from their supervisor. So this puts a very bad image, because people here, I know them very well. They take care of they will read the reference letter which is sent by your ex-supervisor. They will read that very carefully, because they want to know what you have been doing in the past. So it's very important to send them a reference letter from your signed or written by your ex-supervisor, with the email and title and everything, and phone number, and etc., etc. So this is one thing. So you have to send two reference letters, or three maybe. And after these reference letters, you have to deal with the motivation or the cover letter, which is very important. I'm telling you, these few things are very important, because when I was giving interview, when I had a final interview in 2018, they had my motivation letter, they had my CV, and they had my reference letters right in front of them, and they were actually reading that out. Like, you have written this in your motivation letter. How What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So it's not that they will just simply, oh, okay, it's not something that you just send and they will read it. They will read it, and they will actually ask questions from that as well in your interview. Anyways, so they have this criteria that you have to send three or two to three motivation letters, and then, sorry, reference letters, one motivation letter, or cover letter. You have to send your CV, and sometimes they ask for the transcript of the master's degree, the transcript of the degree. You have to send that as well. And well, that's it. And there's one more thing, that they upload all the project names and the title of the person who is offering this. So simply you can just put the name of that person into the Google, or into their website at Institute of Physics, or Institute of High Pressure Physics, and you can check the profile of that person. So there's this new thing that they have introduced, that you can select three options, like three top best projects that you want on the basis of your priority. So you can select one project, second project, and the third project based on your priorities. So now telling you more about the interview. So once because right now it's happening. So this they are accepting applications right now. It will last. The last date is, I think, 7th of. So today is 6 probably. Sorry, 4. So the last date is 7. So you need to finish uploading all the documents till 7. Okay, so after that, what they will do is that they will have this interview. They will shortlist the candidates. I'm not sure, when I was doing when there was my when they selected me, we were actually 7 people, and for this one particular project, and they took interviews of every single person. So I think the same goes here. No matter how many people apply here, I think they will take interview of every single one of them. And then the supervisor, or the person, after the interview, the supervisor will say that, okay, I'm taking this person, or I'm taking that person, and he or she will speak in favor of you, the candidate, and then the final committee will decide. So if the supervisor, in my case, if the supervisor wants you, the committee is just, how to say, it's just a thing that you have to go through, just because it's a procedure. So your supervisor is the main person. You need to focus on that. So the tips that I can give you is that, because now the selection criteria is totally different from the criteria that I used to have when I was selected. Before this, the final interview, my supervisor, my co-supervisor, and my seniors, they took, like, I went through three interviews before the final interview. So I was selected by my supervisor way before then the final committee selected me. So the final committee was just a, dummy thing, because they just, it was just a procedure that I have to go through. So because my supervisor already selected me. So now in this case, in this Warsaw for PhD, if your supervisor is satisfied by your interview, the committee have nothing to do with that, because the funding is coming from the supervisor himself, right? So you need to focus on that. I will strongly suggest you to make a very attractive CV, add more experiences that either they're experimental, either you are an experimentalist or a theoretician. So you need to make a CV very attractive, very very attractive CV, and the motivation letter, very attractive motivation letter, and the one reference letter which is from your supervisor. It should be perfect. It should be well written, and it should be kind. Maybe I'm not saying that he should praise you, or he or she should praise you in the letter, but just it should be attractive. And now moving towards the interview. The interview is very basic. Like, it's very, 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 very basic. Like, for example, I was applying for, my field is semiconductor physics, right? So for semiconductor physics, I was asked very basic questions. I know physics people can relate, but not others cannot, understand, of course. So the basic, by basic I mean, for example, the basic definitions of what is a solid state physics. Like, I'm doing my PhD. I'm going to do my PhD in solid state physics, and I should know what is solid state physics. I'm applying for example, I'm applying for a project, which is a laser. So I should know how a laser work. I should know how an LED work. So this is how the questions are, like, very basic questions. They focus mainly on your basics. So your basics should be very strong. For example, you're applying in chemistry, like, for example, you're applying in the project of organic chemistry. You should know very very simple basics of organic chemistry. And one more thing, you should know about the project as well. Like, I'm not saying that, of course they haven't provided you any description of the project, but at least you should know. For example, as I said, that I'm applying for lasers, for example, gallium nitride lasers. So I should know how a laser work. I should know what um, are the how features of a gallium nitride based, what VCSELs, or super what are superluminescent diodes, what are LEDs. So these are the basic questions that you need to know and you need to focus on. So you don't have to worry about the interview. Just be confident, and just even if you're wrong, just try to convince them with. I'm not saying try to convince them with a false statement, no, but just try to be more relaxed and more confident. They're very much into a person who's very confident. I remember when it was my interview, they gave me this compliment after the interview, that you're very confident, you're an extremely confident person. So this is very, it's helpful, I must say. Okay, so this is the PhD. So go and apply for it, and I think the next admissions will this admissions will the final date of this semester admission is 7th of this is June, right? So 7th of June 2020, and you need to apply as soon as possible. And just even if you haven't completed your master's degree, just upload a 3 semester transcript or whatever you have, and it will work. And the final thing is not the final thing. The thing beside this admission thing is that about how things work here. Usually in other countries, because I'm doing PhD from an institute. It's not a university itself. It's a research institute. So most of the research institutes here have their hostels and guest rooms. But usually the PhDs usually don't prefer living in hostels. Some of us are also living in hostels, but it's not many people. Like, for example, I'm living in a flat, so it depends on your priorities, that whether you can handle a lot of people, because PhD itself is a very, you know, tough thing, so you want to be sometimes alone and do your work. So a lot of it depends on also on your budget, how much stipend you are getting. So now speaking about the stipend, now sorry, moving towards the stipend. A stipend actually depends on the project you're working on. For example, usually the project that supervisors offer, usually the salaries are between 3,000 zlotys to 5,000 zlotys. 5,000 zlotys is the maximum a PhD can get. But of course, you can, after 2 3 years, you can apply for extra funding, and then you can get more than that. But usually people get like between 3,000 zlotys to 5,000 zlotys. And some students who are working, who are getting salaries directly from the institute, not from the supervisor's project, but directly from the institute, they're getting less salaries, for example 2,200 zlotys, which is less in comparison with, of course, in comparison with my salary or anyone's who's getting a salary or the stipend from directly from a project. So how much salary or how much stipend is enough to survive in Poland? This question is very, like, a lot of people ask me this question, that okay, comparing the stipend or the salary of the students from Poland to the students who are doing PhD in Germany or Sweden or anywhere else, it's very less. But let me tell you one thing: a person who's doing a PhD or who's living in Poland, Poland is very cheap, right? It's very cheap, so the salaries or the stipends are according to that. Here, the main important thing is that you have to pay a lot for the room, or the for renting. A lot of money goes into renting. So this is the main thing. For example, if my salary is 6,000 zlotys, I'm spending around 14 or 1,500 zlotys for this apartment. Um, so renting is expensive, but only in Warsaw. Like, this is a capital of Poland, so here the renting a house is expensive in comparison with the other cities of Poland. So you need to take care of that. So for example, if you're getting 3,000 or 4,000 zlotys, 1,400, 1,000, 1,200, or 1,300 is going into renting, and the rest of the things are, for example, eating or other for example, traveling. So traveling is very cheap here. If you're a student, you can buy a card for 3 months and you can just travel here and there for only 114 zloty. So it's very cheap. Speaking of eating, if here food and other items are very cheap, so you can get you can spend like maximum, for example, if you cook food at home and you take lunch with you, for example, this is what I do. So my monthly expense for food is around 600 zlotys, so it's not much. So if you're earning like around 3,000 zlotys, spend 1,000 for renting and all. But if you're living inside the institute and rent, getting a room in the hostel, that's very cheap. For example, you will be paying around only 600 zlotys. So imagine you're getting 3,000 zlotys and you're paying only 600 zlotys for the room. And then 140 for the traveling, and then for the food you're paying like 500 zlotys or 600 zlotys. So it's very economical. Since even after that, you will have a lot of money for saving. You can save it or send home, or this is what I do. So yeah, living here is very absolutely fine, depending on how much you earn. But if you are earning between 2,000 zlotys, 2,500 zlotys, you can say 2,500 zlotys, and 4,000 zlotys, you can live here easily. If you're a single person, of course, if you don't have a family with you. Okay, so the procedure is done. The tips that I wanted to give you is done. The other thing is the living and all that, the stipend and all that. It's already done. Also, one more thing, people ask me that you wear a hijab or headscarf and you live in Poland, which is a very racist country. Like, Poland is a Christian country, and sometimes people say that, oh, okay, it must be racist, and you must feel racism all around here. And let me tell you one thing, that it happens everywhere. I'm not gonna say that okay, nothing is happening here. It's not like that. But I have never seen people like, for example, I'm here from last 2 years and I've never encountered any kind of physical attack or abusive attacks, or I don't know, verbal, sorry, attacks. I have never seen that. People are fine. People are very friendly. They're fine. They're fine. They're absolutely fine. They're as normal as people from any other country. So you don't have to worry about that. Just mind your own business. Don't bother anybody. People won't bother you. The only problem that I think is the language problem. Polish is a very difficult language, but the good thing is that people here, for example, the youngsters, they speak very good English, and so this is not even a problem. You know, in day-to-day life, you need to learn few words, and then when you say these words, people are very happy usually. So I don't think it's a problem because you're not here for the rest of your life. And yes, the bad side is the immigration things, which are very complicated in Poland because I think they're taking a lot of time for these immigration processes. For example, applying visa from Pakistan, it's very difficult nowadays because they're rejecting a lot of applicants, basically. Master students or bachelor students. But speaking of PhDs, they have never rejected a visa for a PhD student. As far as I know, they don't reject it until or unless your documents are complete. So visa processes, like what you need to give, like the documents and everything, I think this is available on their website. Each and every single document, just don't skip anything. Everything that they have mentioned on their website needs to be submitted. Other than that, I think everything else has been said. Poland, I am very happy here. I have good stipend and I'm earning good money, and I'm very happy with my research group. This is the most important thing, of course. Um, I'm doing I'm very happy with the work that I'm doing, and um, I think that's it. This is all I can tell you about Poland. If you have any questions about how to do this, how to do that, you can just ask me. I would love to reply to your questions. And yeah, well, that's it from my side, and I hope everyone gets what they want to get. And good luck. And also, one last tip before I leave. As I told you in the start, I used to send emails to every single professor I used to come around. Like I was like, oh, send email to this guy, send email to this guy. So don't do that. Just find your for like major, what you want to do exactly, then shortlist the universities or the people you want to contact, and then make a very good, very professional CV. Sorry, the email. The email should be as short as possible because my supervisor is a big fish, you can say, in Poland. He's very, very good at what he's doing. His group is very famous, and so when I saw him taking interviews of the candidates, and I saw him, reading emails from the people applying for the projects all around the world. So I've seen that he was not even reading the entire email. He was just like, okay, okay. So just make it as short as possible. Your CV should speak louder than your email. So email should be as short as possible. Your motivation letter and the CV. I used to send two things to the professors: the motivation letter and the CV only, and the email. My email was only four line email, so nothing, not more than that. So make it as short as possible. CV should be very good, and your motivation letter should not be very long. It's better if you make it like one page motivation letter and just tell them what you have been doing and what you want to do, and why you're choosing this particular project or this particular person. So I think everything else I have just mentioned, and just make sure that you apply before 7, so you still have 2 or 3 days. You have 3 days still, so apply before 7, in the field of chemistry, physics, and biology. And you can see, I've told you the criteria is simple. You just have to upload the reference letters, CV, motivation letter, and your final the project. Sorry, the transcript or the certificate, the transcript or the degree. So that's it from my side, and I think if you have any questions, you can just simply ask. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I wish you best of luck. Thank you. Bye bye.